Thank you for joining me. We all have a conscience. The conscience is the sacred inner voice that tells us if we are performing in a way that our souls find respectable or if we're not. The conscience is very interesting because it is an entity outside of our conscious control, and yet it pushes itself into our consciousness, mostly when we are being foolish. This is the inner voice of the divine. We could say the dictates of God very much are given to us through this voice. If we want to know what the universe thinks of us, well, I guess we could ask God, or we could tap into that inner voice. It's cool to be aware of yourself each and every moment. It's very cool to be aware of the circumstances you are perpetuating, of the energies you are reinforcing. It's very much cool to know what the conscience is saying each and every moment. The conscience is what we call the inner voice inside, and I would say it's a sacred voice inside that lets us know each and every moment if we are going in a direction that our ultimate essence finds respectable or not. And it's not up to us. This voice isn't within our conscious control. It meets us in our awareness automatically, and we simply have to deal with it. Many humans choose to deal with this voice by shutting it down, by pushing it away, by burying it. And all that happens when we don't listen to the intuition, which may as well be the vehicle through which God speaks to us, is we lose touch with our own journeys, and instead of being cool and aware, we become tainted with many energies that are not originating within the heart. We have to follow the heart, but we can only follow the heart when we are listening. And having a quality consciousness is only achievable when we practice having an honest dialogue with ourselves. The conscience is the guide that helps us to have this dialogue. There's no way around the very harsh truths that must be felt and acted upon if we are to have a glorious journey here and not let ourselves go. More and more it's becoming the norm for people to let themselves go. We can let ourselves go in a multitude of ways, to addiction, to emotions, to people, to culture. When we don't know ourselves in those moments, we're replacing self-knowledge with attachment to the world. And there's nothing really to attach to here, because everything is constantly in flux. You are constantly changing, and so am I. And the moment we stop respecting our eternal journeys, that's the moment we might want to relax and just slip into a more deadened state. The reason I talk about these states so much is because they're so common to fall into when we haven't built up enough courage to face ourselves on a consistent basis. Many of you already know my opinion on enlightenment. I don't like to talk about enlightenment or any perfected state of being, because there's always a greater level to get to. There's always more to achieve. And it's not a linear process. We are such multifaceted beings, and to explore different worlds inside of ourselves, it's required to follow the compass of the conscience. When we're not being that great, we will feel ashamed, we will feel embarrassed, we will feel antsy. But if we can listen to what these feelings, these intuitions have to offer, then we can follow the breadcrumbs that we always lay for ourselves through honesty back to the heart. True love for oneself isn't just a concept. Sometimes it seems like our culture is whitewashed with ideas of love, compassion, tolerance, acceptance, and without really guiding ourselves into a strong state of practical action, of practical implementation, these words are just words. Self-judgment naturally arises, especially when there is something to judge as ridiculous, or unaligned, or unaware. If we judge the unawareness of others as pathetic or a bit weak, and a lot of us do, a lot of us look at the world and we don't like how unaware beings are. They are blindly walking around like zombies. If we judge that in others, we can actually use that judgment to reinforce for ourselves. I do not want to be in a state like that, like them. Whatever gets the job done. I am trying to convey that we can be friends with judgment. We have to utilize it in a way that's going to ultimately empower us, empower our lifestyles. Relationship with the self is very much relationship with the divine. So the conscience is never going away, ever. And the conscience will congratulate us and uplift us and make us not only feel ascended, but actualize the very ascended state that many of us would like to achieve and know we can achieve. We have to be at the edge of our seats, though. We have to stay on our toes. We have to be brutally honest with ourselves. And, you know, then there's a real party. Then there's a real party. So this is a short message. I just want to encourage everyone, including myself, to always follow that voice inside. This voice is going to tell you when you're in situations that won't benefit your health, your mental, your physical health, your spiritual health. This voice will tell you when people in your life need to go or need to be interacted with coming from a different space. This voice tells each and every one of us when we're holding ourselves hostage. Isn't it awesome? We have this best friend that is meant to guide, and does a pretty damn good job of giving us guidance, but we have to take that guidance. Nobody is forced to do anything in this world. We might be in situations that are constantly telling us to alter things or to make a change, but we have this thing called free will. And I don't want to get in a huge conversation about the nature of free will. The fact is, you are free to let yourself go. But what's that going to do to your eternal essence? And knowing that our eternal essence can never die, can only change shapes, well, what shape are you going to change into? I want to change into a trapezoid. You know what? I want to be a parallelogram in my next life. Of course, that's a joke. I might not know exactly where my conscience leads. We might not know exactly where it leads, and we don't have to. It's going to lead to a magical presence in us, a magical world in us, the more we accept the dictates of this beautiful voice that can be harsh, that can be a bit demanding. Fear of God, fear of the universe, fear of karmic repercussions only exists when we're battling this voice. So let us not battle this voice.